Now, we're back, and I'm talking with Dominic, and I'm talking to Michael, and no big surprises here. Mitt Romney has done what he said he would do, but is a win still a win? Especially when he was at one point projected at 40% in terms of possible outcome, in terms of what he might achieve in New Hampshire. What's your view?
I think there's going to be a lot of spin on each side, obviously. There was some people saying Mitt Romney, below 40% is not a win. I mean, he did win, okay? So he's won Iowa, he's won New Hampshire, he's going strong, and he's won by double digits. On the other hand, you could look at his numbers from 4 years ago and say he got 32% in the primary in New Hampshire 4 years ago. He lost to John McCain by just a few percent, but he hasn't really increased that number that much, despite more money spent, 4 years more of campaigning, some high-profile endorsements from Governor Christie in New Jersey to a lot of in-state high-profile Republicans. So I think there's going to be some question and some, push back and forth of whether this win was really a win. I would say the answer is probably, and again, a win is a win, but we'll see what that goes. The other thing is who's going to step up and take the Romney versus somebody mantle.
Well, that's the operative question, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I have a slightly different read of that. Last Wednesday he was at 44, and all the past 6 days, as people have watched the tracking, he's gone down. Not a big surprise, but Tom just said the key thing, which is a lot of people really felt, and I quite frankly did too, that 40 would be a clear win for him. 37's not 40. So the real question is he's going out early tonight. In the next few minutes, he's going to come out, declare victory. He's going to try to drive the narrative. We did what we wanted to do. But a lot of people are going to take a look at 4 years ago, compare it to now, and say, he was, for those people who lived around here, he was on television all the time with his commercials. Nobody else had spots except for the Huntsman PAC. They can't be thrilled at not meeting their goal of 40%.
Yeah, I guess we also have to look at the MUR coverage. And by the way, folks, MUR is obviously an ABC affiliate. It's not a public television affiliate, as I mistakenly mentioned earlier. Now, one question I have about this is second place, Ron Paul or John Huntsman. Now, it would make a huge difference, obviously, for John Huntsman. Does it make that big a difference for Ron Paul, given the next step, which is South Carolina?
I think Huntsman really wanted that second place. He came here, like Santorum did in Iowa. He came to New Hampshire, and he said, this is where I'm going to put my stake in the ground, get my support, and try to build off of that. So if he ends up in the high teens and a few percentage points behind Ron Paul, I think they're probably not thrilled about that, but they still came in a pretty strong third, and I think you see where they go from there. Ron Paul's support always seems to top out in the low 20s in these primaries. I'm not sure I see that going up much more. I think the numbers he's pretty much stayed consistent, but the numbers for the other candidates have always gone around. So I don't really see him going much further than the 20s.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. And again, if you compare New Hampshire and Iowa, which are the only two things we can compare at this point, in Iowa he started at 24, he ended up at 22. Here he started in the low 20s, he's finishing in the low 20s. He's got the strongest, most committed, the most vibrant supporters, and he can't grow them. He just can't grow them. And that in the long run, the real question is this Ron Paul's race, or is it Rand Paul's first step for 2016? Are they building an organization for 2016?
And I will say I saw Rand Paul up in New Hampshire a few times in the last week.
What Rand Paul seems to have going for himself is passion, and that seems to be lacking for most of the other candidates. We're going to be joined right now by Anna Sales, who's our reporter in New Hampshire. Anna, are you on the line right now?
I am. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, we can indeed.
Terrific.
What do you heard the question? I mean, the passion. There seems to be a passion gap in this primary, with the exception, perhaps, of Ron Paul's candidacy. What are you seeing on the ground?
Well, I certainly found that talking to even Romney's supporters over the last several days traveling around New Hampshire. There were folks who had sort of made the decision to vote for Mitt Romney, but they certainly didn't sound excited about it. It was sort of like, well, I've looked at everybody.
And I'm afraid we lost you. Anna, are you back?
I'm here. Can
Okay,
you see me?
where are you, by the way?
I'm here in Manchester, New Hampshire at the John Huntsman Returns Party that is getting fuller and fuller was just reporters for a while here, but the folks I've talked to here, there were a lot of independent voters here, some who even voted for Barack Obama in the 2008 primary, and we're hoping that John Huntsman would do well here in New Hampshire to send a message that the sort of hyper-partisanship in Washington needed to go. It's not clear yet if they're going to be happy with the results that we're seeing come in, but we'll certainly hear from him later in the evening here. Sounds like Mitt Romney's going to be doing his victory lap before that, though.
Well, a number of news organizations are now projecting Ron Paul, including CNN. They're projecting Ron Paul as coming in number 2. Does that surprise you?
Not from my experience talking to voters. I think the Ron Paul support in New Hampshire is strong, and it's not just the sort of fringy Ron Paul supporters that chant and show up with signs all over. I talked to a lot of folks who, small business owners, mostly younger people, I would say 40 and under, who tended to be Ron Paul supporters, but they were committed and they were very much attracted to his anti-establishment kind of strain. They wanted to send a message to Washington that the amount of spending, the amount of debt just cannot stand. And so I think they're going to be quite pleased with their results as they're coming in right now.
Now, Anna, now it's clear that among those who pushed Ron Paul into second place, as projected, are independent voters. Are independent voters in New Hampshire different from independent voters anywhere else, in your view?
Well, I think we use the term independent voters in the media in sort of a misleading way. In New Hampshire, as in the rest of the country, it doesn't really mean that you're a swing voter or that you're moderate. It mostly just means that you don't want to be a member of either the Democrat or the Republican Party. And that's the tradition here in New Hampshire. The electorate, 40% are unaffiliated independent voters. And these are folks who can show up on primary day and vote in a primary. So, of course, there's no contested Democratic primary this year. Independents showed up to the polls. But what I find interesting is the exit polls that I've seen show that it wasn't just Ron Paul getting these unaffiliated voters, it wasn't just John Huntsman getting them, but Romney and Ron Paul seemed to led with the independent voter support, and then John Huntsman came in right behind them. So even the unaffiliated voters here in New Hampshire were split.
Hey, Anna, a quick question. You're in the dark there. Is Huntsman trying to save money on lights or what? I mean, is he saving up for South Carolina?
It's a factor of all the reporters who have crowded in here. I found a little spot on the floor here, and don't have a lot of lights. But I'm surrounded by cameras and tripods, so I apologize for the darkness.
Okay, well, Anna, we're going to go to Mitt Romney.